Hello, one. And I recently watched the movie Shazam recently, and I hated it. I didn't like this movie so much that I remember I started looking at Twitter instead of watching it. I really didn't like all the jokes that this movie made and how silly it was. Now, that doesn't mean I'm against comic book movies being silly and fun, like instead of being serious, because there are some things that don't take themselves seriously at all that I do like. However, with that being said, I am more of a fan of the serious takes that DC has with both their movies and TV shows, and I feel like it would have been better if, in my opinion, instead of acting like the MCU, if instead the movie was more serious. Honestly, my two biggest issues with this movie is the fact that we never see Shazam fighting crime and actually being a superhero at all. Instead, he just comes off as a joke and also literally do nothing with the fact that Billy Batson has a new family and a new brothers and sisters. And it might just be me, but I felt like throughout the entire movie that Billy and Shazam were completely different people. Because when he was Billy, he would keep to himself, not talk to anyone really, but once he became Shazam, he started goofing off and acting completely different. I honestly feel like Billy shouldn't be the way he was whenever he was Shazam, because to me it felt like a completely different person. Early on in the movie, he goes and beats up a group of bullies that are beating up his new brother Freddy, but then once he gets superpowers, he's completely different and making jokes, doing the floss dance from Fortnite. And for me, it felt like he wasn't Billy anymore. Now, I did like when Billy is talking to the wizard, and he says that he doesn't think anyone is good right before he gets his powers, but I feel like they could have actually done something with this. Himself, like Billy puts himself down, but he's also willing to go out of his way to help people. And then when he becomes a superhero, he is actually going out fighting crime and saving people. I also think that this movie should have taken some notes from Man of Steel, and how in that movie Superman learned to stay away from fighting in cities and towns and highly populated places because of all the damage and injuries that are caused by him fighting. I think they could have totally have this, but with Billy instead not having full control over his powers, so when he is saving people and stopping criminals, he is causing a lot of damage while doing it. The argument that Billy and Freddy have during dinner would have actually worked then, with Freddy calling out Shazam for all the damages that he's is causing, while Billy brings up the point that Shazam is saving lives and in the fact that he's a hero. Also, I really dislike that Freddy knew everything about superheroes because he's a massive fan of Batman and Superman. And Freddy being the one teaching Billy how to use all of his powers, especially when right before Billy is shown not to really care about Freddy, he doesn't talk to him at all when he first moves into the house. Billy keeps to himself, however once he gets his powers, him and Freddy becomes like best friends for no reason at all. I honestly would have liked if instead Billy told no one who he was, and instead of it being like Freddy and Billy skipping school, instead it was just Billy skipping school and running out to save people and stop criminals. A moment that I actually did really like was when Billy saves Mary from almost getting hit by a truck, and then she starts opening up to him about how she's feeling about being accepted to a college that she applied for. But the thing is, I only like that scene for like 5 seconds because immediately the movie starts making jokes because we can't have any moments in this movie about them being serious. Instead, just make everything just make lame jokes all the time, over and over again. I felt like this was gonna be a moment for Billy and Mary to actually bond, and even though Mary wouldn't know that Shazam is Billy, like she wouldn't know that, but instead it's just them making jokes. And if instead of making jokes, if instead after Billy saves Mary, she starts opening up to him, you can just have like Billy as Shazam sit there talking with Mary and them talking with each other for a long time, showing that even though Billy might not show it, he does actually care for not only Mary but the rest of his new foster family that he has. Also, the moment when the bus falls because of Shazam fooling around, I would have made it to where this happens on complete accident, and this was caused by Billy trying to stop a criminal, but because he doesn't have control of his powers, his lightning accidentally hits like the bus's wheels, causing it to crash and fall, instead of how the scene was in the movie where he stood there not doing anything, and instead not doing anything just look useless. Instead, I would make it to where Billy just makes it in the nick of time and catches the bus right before it hits the ground. However, while everyone is cheering on Shazam, Billy would be the only person not happy about it because that's when he realizes himself that he was the one who put these people in danger. Then I feel like you could have a training montage, like the training montage that happens in the movie where they are all, when him and Freddy figure out what powers he has. You can have that, and like in the movie, and you could even have Superman being the person who's helping Billy train instead of Freddy. Not only having it show that Shazam and Superman know each other, like how the ending of the movie is revealed that Shazam invites Superman to eat lunch with Freddy, and he said, I invited a friend, but also having the Man of Steel himself helping Billy control his powers and not cause as much damage as he has done, showing that one, Superman learned from his mistakes in Man of Steel, and having the Man of Steel teaching Superman. By having the Man of Steel teaching Shazam, not Superman. I also would have liked if the movie actually did more with all the other members of the family instead of just Freddy. Really, the only one that I liked was Mary. Mary was the only member of that family that I actually liked, and I've already talked about what I would have done with her. The other ones I would have liked if they got more screen time with Billy, and also if they were actually interesting characters instead of what they were. When I say Mary's the only one I like, I mean it, because she felt like the only person who was, one, an actual person, and two, was an actual character instead of just being there. I also hated the main villain of this movie, who, even though he has the seven deadly sins with him, the only thing that seemed to make him threatening was the fact that Shazam was just did nothing, never did anything other than joke around and be useless. I understand this movie was supposed to show, even with superpowers, Billy is still a little kid, but I felt like they could have done that in a better way than making him the most annoying and useless person ever to have superpowers, and I don't know why the wizard chose Billy to have these powers, when he clearly doesn't care about anything other than joking around. I did not like this movie at all, and I do not think I will be rewatching this movie. I do not think I will be rewatching this movie ever again. I feel like they could have done something with the characters of Shazam and Billy Batson, but instead the movie didn't take itself seriously at all, frankly, because I believe of all the people who scream that comic book movies should be nothing but goofy and fun like the MCU. Instead of the serious tones that I believe DC does with a lot of their work, which I actually really like and prefer the much more serious tones that DC has, and I think they could have done, I think they should have done with Shazam, because I feel like that would have made a movie a lot better with a more serious tone instead of what we got.